Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to the Big Blue View YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ed Valentine, editor of Big Blue View. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Wanted to talk about a couple of topics today. We're going to talk a little bit about the pending retirement of veteran tight end Darren Waller, and we're also going to talk a little bit about OTAs as that phase of the offseason comes to an end this week. All right, first let's talk about Waller a little bit. I'm already getting questions to the Big Blue View mailbag and in comments at Big Blue View and on social media. I'm already getting questions about how should the Giants spend the $11.9 million in cap savings that they'll get if and when Darren Waller retires, or if the Giants ultimately decide to cut him. First and foremost, we do expect a decision before mandatory minicamp, which is next week, June 11 and 12. So we expect a decision from Waller as to whether he's going to retire or play in the next few days. All signs at this point indicate that Waller is expected to retire, giving the Giants that $11.9 million in cap space. The Giants have proceeded throughout the offseason as though they did not expect Darren Waller to play, drafting Theo Johnson, impressive young tight end out of Penn State, in the fourth round, signing veteran free agent tight ends Jack Stoll and Chris Manhertz, who are blocking tight ends, who could free up Daniel Bellinger for increased receiving responsibility. But let's talk a little bit about Waller and the cap space. In terms of spending that cap space, the Giants would get $11.9 million in cap space back, space that they desperately need. Over the cap, as I record this show, shows the Giants last in the league right now in available cap space at $1.095 million. I think the Giants have been expecting to get that money back from Darren Waller. So they would be right around $13 million. And, the question becomes, how should they spend it? Should they go out and re-sign Adoree Jackson? Should they go out and get a cornerback? Should they sign one of the safeties that's still available? What should they do? How about hold your water? Remember that it's still OTAs, it's still mini camp, it's not summer yet, it's not training camp. Games are several months away still at this point. Use this time to look at the young players you've got on the defensive line, the young cornerbacks that you have, Cordale Flott, Nick McLeod, Trey Hawkins, Andrew Phillips, the rookie third-round pick. Look at what you have, judge what you have, figure out what your needs are, at defensive line, at running back if you have a need, at corner if you have a need. Figure out what your needs are and make a move closer to the start of the regular season this September. The reality of it is, even at $13 million in cap space, the Giants would be in the bottom half of the NFL in terms of available cap space. They still wouldn't have a lot of money. When you and I get money, I mean, when you get money, when you get your tax refund, do you run right out and spend every penny of it, or do you put some of that in the bank for something that you might need on a rainy day? And for me, what I'm recommending here is that the Giants not run right out and spend that money just because they have it. The reality of it is, and Dave Gettleman used to say, that you needed at least $8 to $10 million to get through the season, the regular season, because of injuries, because of having to replace guys on the roster, because a guy might shake loose once in a while that you want to pick up. You have to pay that guy. Maybe a free agent shakes loose in training camp that you want to sign, and you're going to need more than a veteran minimum salary to pay that guy. Maybe somebody it becomes a June 1 cut here that you want to pursue. Maybe there's still somebody out on the free agent market that you'll want to pursue eventually. But you're going to need it, since the cap has gone up since Gettleman was GM, you're probably going to need 10, 12, 13 million dollars just to get through the regular season. So the Giants are in a situation where perhaps they're still going to need to renegotiate, restructure a couple of contracts to create even more space. 13 million might not be enough to get them through the regular season at this point, to get them through all of the things that they're going to have to do when injuries strike, when guys come available. So for me, if there's a guy out there that they really, really want, if there's a running back available, a veteran running back that they want to give a 1-year minimum contract, maybe a veteran salary benefit contract to, fine. If there's a defensive tackle out there they really think is better than the depth that they currently have, fine. If there's a cornerback out there that they're dying to have, and I don't think there is. And I don't think Adoree Jackson is that guy. I think Adoree Jackson played his way off the Giants last year. It was not only his worst season as an NFL player, but if you really watch, one of the biggest issues for Adoree Jackson was he had the worst missed tackle rate of his NFL career. And one of the reasons he had that missed tackle rate was, if you really look at it, if you really watch, Adoree Jackson made, in my estimation, in my view, he made a lot of business decisions as the season unfolded last year. I think he knew the season had gone south. He knew he was leaving the Giants, that the Giants weren't going to bring him back. He made some business decisions to stay healthy, where he didn't throw himself in there to make a tackle, where he sort of olayed some tackles. And I like Adoree Jackson. I've had conversations with Jackson. He's a good guy, good dude, good to talk to. We've kidded around about shooting a game of horse together, all that kind of stuff. I think I've talked about that before. Good guy, didn't like what he put on film last year, and didn't like what he put on film in an effort related way. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but for me, that's true. I didn't like the effort. The play wasn't great. I didn't think the effort did him any favors either at times. But in terms of the Giants, in terms of that cap space, why rush to spend it? There are going to, as I've said, there are going to be guys who shake loose. There's going to be things that happen. They don't need to be in a hurry to spend it. There will be guys that come loose in training camp that might be more desirable for them than what's currently on the market. So for me, unless there's a guy out there that they're really, really interested in, they should just hang on, be patient, see what happens during training camp, see what happens with June 1 cuts here, some of which have already been made, but no reason to rush out and spend that money. There isn't, for me anyway, there isn't a single guy out there, and the Giants may disagree, but there isn't a guy out there that I'm going, oh, that's a difference maker for the 2024 season. That's a guy the Giants have to have. So if I'm the Giants, if I'm Joe Schoen, I'm not in any rush to spend that money. All right, I wanted to switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about OTAs, and just a quick note. I will be in attendance on Thursday for the final OTA with media availability, and I do plan at this time on being at both practices for the mandatory mini camp next week. And with that said, I just want to talk a little bit about the importance of OTAs and about the annual overreaction to anything and everything that we see and we hear during OTAs. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of I'm hearing a lot of stuff about, oh, Tommy DeVito has been better than Drew Lock. So why did the Giants bother to sign Lock, and why isn't DeVito the backup? And for that matter, why isn't Tommy DeVito competing to take Daniel Jones' starting job away? Look, Tommy DeVito had a couple of nice games last year. DeVito Mania was a great thing. I'm not ever going to take that away from DeVito. I'm not ever going to say he didn't do a good job in that circumstance. But there was a reason why Tommy DeVito went undrafted out of Syracuse in Illinois. And there was a reason why Drew Lock was a second round draft pick. Drew Lock is a more talented quarterback than Tommy DeVito. He hasn't had NFL success, at the rate that he would have liked. But Drew Lock has more physical talent than does Tommy DeVito. That's just the reality of the situation. The Giants brought in Drew Lock to be the number 2 quarterback. And let's be real. Drew Lock is adjusting to a new offense. Drew Lock is also running 11 on 11 against the Giants' starting defense. He's running 11 on 11 against Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Tay Banks and Jason Pinnock and the starting guys on that defensive unit. Tommy DeVito is running second and third team against backup players for the most part, against guys at times who won't make the roster, against guys who won't be in the league. You're not comparing apples to apples. So I just caution getting all crazy and getting all fired up when you read reports, oh, Drew Lock went 11 for 20 and Tommy DeVito went 7 for 8. So that doesn't make Tommy DeVito a better quarterback. It doesn't make Drew Lock a worse quarterback. It doesn't make Drew Lock a bad signing. The fact that in shorts and T-shirts in an OTA in May, he had a rough day. We're all starved for football information. I get it. But it's May. It's shorts and T-shirts. There's no hitting. The Giants are installing their offense. They're just learning these plays. They're just learning each other. They're learning the scheme. They're getting the timing down. Drew Lock is in a new environment. He's had good days and bad days at OTAs, according to the reports that we've seen, and the little bit that media has been able to be available. Let's just not overreact and say player A should be this and player B should be that, whether it's Lock and DeVito or whether it's a wide receiver or whether it's a safety or a cornerback. Let's not overreact to what we read and hear about OTAs in May. Brian Daboll has said for the last couple of years, OTAs are a teaching camp. OTAs are about learning. OTAs are about getting acclimated to what you're going to be asked to do. Jobs are not won and lost in OTAs. Now, I will grant you that players can impress. Players can put themselves in position to get additional opportunities in training camp when the intensity ramps up, when the Giants will hold joint practices. This year, a couple of joint practices against the Detroit Lions, a joint practice that's expected against the New York Jets, when there will be padded practices, when there will be preseason games where guys can maybe win a roster spot, win a practice squad spot. But this happens every year. It happens to me. I've been fooled by guys at this time of year. But let's not get crazy when we hear, oh, Asir Asante, undrafted free agent, caught a couple of passes and looked good. Dante Miller, the running back, showed a lot of speed. Well, you know what? The Giants knew the guy was fast when they signed him. The Giants knew that Asir Asante might be able to develop or into a slot guy when they signed him. It doesn't all of a sudden mean that Asante is going to take Wan'Dale Robinson's job. let's remember that in shorts and t-shirts, we got fooled a few years ago by Corey Washington. I got fooled a few years ago by a tight end out of Kentucky named CJ Conrad. I thought Conrad was going to be a guy that would make the roster and wind up being a really good NFL player. He never played it down in the NFL that I know of. It's easy to get fooled. It's great to have some football to talk about, but these guys, don't put them in the Hall of Fame. Don't put them on the roster because of a report that you hear in May. Don't jump them up the depth chart from third team to first team because of something that you hear in May. What I say is, look, if you find a player that you're interested in, pay attention to how it goes, pay attention to how it develops. Maybe in May a guy can get himself more opportunities down the line, as I said, when things ramp up. But all of this that we see, even in OTAs, even in mandatory minicamp, even in training camp, comes with context. We don't know exactly, what's being called, what situations are. Remember 2 years ago when Brian Daboll was a first-year head coach. I remember watching the offense, and if you guys remember, Daniel Jones, day after day after day in training camp that year, looked horrendous. The offense looked horrendous. Jones was throwing interceptions, it seemed like, every single day to Darnay Holmes. And standing on the sideline, you think, oh, Darnay Holmes is about to make a leap and become, a Pro Bowl caliber slot corner. And the flip side of that is, man, the Giants are in a lot of trouble with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. Well, what happened? Darnay Holmes is now a backup corner. Daniel Jones led the Giants to the playoffs in 2022 and had his best season in the NFL. We eventually found out, and this is the context that I'm talking about, that Daboll spent training camp putting Daniel Jones and the offense in the most disadvantageous positions he possibly could. He allowed Wink Martindale to open up his playbook and throw the entire blitz package at an offensive line that was just trying to figure each other out and just trying to figure out the offensive scheme. They were overwhelmed at that point and had no chance. He basically was tipping off the secondary as to what was coming. A lot of those interceptions that we saw from Darnay Holmes weren't the great plays that we thought we saw, or the awful decisions that we thought we saw from Daniel Jones. They were situations where Darnay Holmes knew what was coming before the ball was thrown because he had been tipped off. So there's context to everything. There's reasons for everything that's done. We see balls thrown during training camp that the quarterbacks wouldn't throw during the regular season simply because they want to know how the wide receiver will react to that throw. They want to know if they can squeeze a throw into a certain window. They want to know if a wide receiver will go up and make a play for them on a 50-50 ball that maybe shouldn't be thrown. So there's context to everything. Don't overreact. Enjoy the reports. Remember the names. Don't make decisions on player X should be, the starter here. Player Y shouldn't make the team because of this that happened in May. That's not how it works. The team is not making those decisions, and you shouldn't either. Don't get yourself dug into an opinion on a player simply because of what happened, during practices in shorts and t-shirts. All right, Giants fans, that's everything that I've got for you today. Appreciate your time and your support as always. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.